Hello guys, welcome back to my channel. Let's make this pencil sketch together. These are the measurements: waist 34, hip 42, and full length 19. So I'll be making use of this line as the waistline. It will serve as waistline. So from there I go down by 9 inches. The 9 inches is the hip line. Here is the waist, the hip, the full length is 19. So here is the 19, though I'll be making use of all the paper. The other inches will be for hemming allowance. Here is the full length. The inches that is remaining is 1.5, that is 1.5 inches. I'll be using it as it will serve as hemming allowance. So I divide the 34 by 4. All your measurements will be divided by 4, all your round measurements. So 34 by 4 is 8.5. I mark my 8.5. On the hip, 42 divided by 4 is 10.5. I mark out the 10.5 on the hip. So for the waist, we'll be inserting the darts. So I will bring out 1 inch for dart allowance on the waist only. So this is the new line. So I join the waist and the hip. So for the full length is also the knee. It's also the knee net here. So the only thing you need to do is from your hip, whatever you have in your hip, you might not see 2 inches. That is how I get my knee measurements. Hip measurements minus 2 inches. So I decide to blend. You blend the sharp edge. So for the darts, you from waist, you come in by 4 inches. That is for that. Then you go down by 4 inches. Here is to confirm the 4 inches that I mark. You draw the dart line. So from that dart line, you go on the both side by 1.5. That you mark on the both side 1.5 and connect it to the first line. Just watch my side do it. So this is the dart line. The next thing that we are going to do is to add the seam allowance. I'll be making use of 1 inch for the seam allowance. You can make use of 1.5 depending on the quantity of the material that you have. So I traced everything down. This is the new line that we'll be making use of. So I will go ahead and cut it out. This is all for the front pattern. I'll go ahead and label it front. So for the back, there is no much thing you need to do on the back. I first of all draft out 2 inches allowance. 2 inches is for zip allowance. I trace it down 2 inches. It will serve as zip allowance. So from that line, let me label it. So from this line, I join the front pattern to use it and trace out the back. There's no much difference from the back and the front, just the zip allowance only. So I use it to trace out the back. I use the front pattern to trace out the back. Remember to place your darts on the back also, exactly where the front one is, that is 4 inches. Four inches down. Then you need to confirm if the point is at that 4 inches. So we'll go ahead and mark out the hip line. While we are placing the hip line is to enable us to identify where hip is, because we will be adjusting the zipper allowance. So how to adjust your zip allowance for perfect fitting is from the waist I minus 1 inch, then on the hip I minus just ½ inch because the hip is fuller. So from the hip I go down by 4 inches, or you can go down by 5 depending on how your hip is. If you have a big hip, you can go down by 5 inches. So on the knee I minus 1 inches, on the waist I minus 1 inch, on the hip I minus half, then on the knee side I minus 1 also. This is the new line, so I will go ahead and trim out. Remember, the reason why I did it like this, I measured it like this, is because the waist is tinier than the hip. If you use exactly that measurement, the waist side will be free. It will be loose. So let me go ahead and cut it out. There is no much difference from the front and back, just the zip allowance. Please like, comment and share my video if you find it helpful. Thank you. That is all for pencil skirts.